Okay, we're live on YouTube and live on Zoom, and I'm just trying to correct a Facebook error here. There we go. Facebook is running slow on me, but let's see if I can get it going.
I don't think I'm all right, look, I'm getting ready to hop on a plane back home.
Gotta love live TV. Come on, Facebook. There it goes. Okay. And we lost Dan. Dan, are you there?
Yeah, I am here.
Oh, your video is gone.
Okay.
There it is. And Dan is back.
All right.
Okay, looks like we're live on everything, and so we can go ahead and get started. Gentlemen, great to have you here. Hi, everybody. I'm Vince Mickens with All Things Aviation, continuing to do these live on location webcasts. This time I have the pleasure of being at Epps Aviation at Dekalb-Peachtree Airport in Atlanta, Georgia. And as you can see, I'm sitting in another aircraft. This time I'm sitting in a Pilatus PC-12. And, you know, I'll let the guys tell you about it, but this is for a single engine turboprop. I can see why it's, you know, everybody's always raving about it, because it's just very, very comfortable, great size aircraft. And I have flown in them before, and they're a great plane to fly too. So it's really kind of cool to be here and everything. I'm just going to ask the guys, can with the jet noise behind me, can you guys still hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, good. Yeah, gotcha. So let me introduce everybody, and we'll talk about a few things. I wanted to mention that I have a great appreciation for FBOs, fixed base operators. Going all the way back to the late 60s and early 70s, particularly the early 70s when I started flying, but late 60s when I was riding my bicycle to the airport. I grew up in St. Louis. Used to ride my bike over to Lambert, or it's now called Lambert, St. Louis International Airport. Back then, and the big FBO on the field was Mid-Coast Aviation, and I was the kid that rode his bike there, tossed the bike to the side of the building, and then walked out and talked to the guys on the ramp that at that time were flying some of the first, you know, official business jets, the Saberliner. And so in Mid-Coast was just that independent full service FBO that really was an introduction to me about what FBOs do. And of course, I've been flying since then, since high school, and have had the pleasure and the privilege of visiting a lot of FBOs and being serviced by them, et cetera, and so forth. So it's really cool. I have a long history with Epps Aviation because I lived in Atlanta years ago and used to fly here out of PDK, out of Epps. And so I know a lot of the history. I know the family and everything. But this is your true full service independent FBO like no other. Everything that you possibly could need and want to get done can be done here. And the history of how it started, which we'll talk about, is really pretty amazing. So it's a pleasure to be here, and it's always fun to have an opportunity to sit in an aircraft. This time the Pilatus PC-12. I was hoping for the PC-24, but you know, beggars can't be choosy. So I'll be happy with this. No, I appreciate being set up with this and everything that we're doing. Let me introduce everybody and let's get started with things. I'll start out with Shane Dell. Shane is the Fbo Services Manager. Shane, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be
Shane,
here.
are you able to hear me okay?
I can hear you. I can hear you. Am I loud and clear?
Okay, your video is frozen for some reason, but glad to have you here. And next I'll introduce Dan Lane. Dan is the Service Center Director. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Vince. Glad to be here.
Glad to have everybody. Everybody's video is frozen. I wonder if mine is. And last but not least, Gregg Johnson. Gregg is the Director of Standards and Compliance for Epps Aviation and has, amongst other things that he has done over the years. Gregg, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Vince. Glad to be here.
Well, great to have you guys. Well, we have audio, so we'll just keep going and hope that maybe this resets itself. Actually, I'm looking at a couple of the other platforms, and Facebook, it looks like I have video, and so maybe it's just my Zoom, and I'm just going to double check real quick, but I think I also have you guys on YouTube just fine too. And yes, I do. So we'll make it work with I'll just try to ignore the fact that I'm seeing you guys frozen on my main screen. So as I mentioned, Epps is really in its 56th year, which in itself is pretty amazing, and has again had quite a history. Let me start out though by asking each of you to tell a little bit about what your responsibilities are with Epps, and then we'll talk about your backgrounds, and we'll dig deeper into it in terms of the opportunities for our young aviation professionals that are watching the program. So I'll start with you, Shane. How about telling a little bit about your responsibilities and give us an overview?
Sure, Ben. So I'm the Fbo Services Manager. So my main purview is over the line and the front desk. So all the customer service elements of the FBO. And then I also oversee all of our storage hangars. We have several corporate hangars, a community hangar, and T hangars, and all the base customers that we have in those hangars. So all the daily transient traffic, all the fueling that goes on, all the helping of the customers, and then all of our base customers and the hangars that they inhabit is what I oversee.
Sure. And Shane, you do a lot, cover a lot of ground. Can you give us an example of the day in the life here? I mean, this is a busy FBO at a busy airport.
It is. So, on any given day, on our concierge, we'll easily have 40 or 50 arrivals, 40 or 50 departures. And that's just what schedules, it tells us they're coming. So it's, we're the 8th busiest airport, general aviation airport in the country. So we stay very, very busy. Everything from your 172s to your G650s come in here on any given day. And then here at this airport, we've got several flight schools that are constantly flying that are based with or around this airport that we fuel. As I said, we have four corporate hangars, our large community hangar, 40 T hangars. We have about 80, 85 customers that are based with us, aircraft that are based with us, that we are constantly servicing. So, any given day, it starts right off at the bat. We're 24/7. So I get here at 6 a.m., but we're already having arrivals and departures, and those go on all day.
Yeah, I'm a witness to that. Dan, let's talk with you about overseeing the maintenance. You have a pretty big responsibility. You have several maintenance hangars, includes the mechanical and the avionics side. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, certainly can. I'm the service center director. I have 8 managers that work under me, from avionics repair, avionics installation, parts department, NDT, Pilatus maintenance, turbine maintenance, piston maintenance. We occupy 4 of these hangars that are Epps Aviation, doing maintenance and avionics installs and repairs. There's 90 some odd people in the service center, 75 A&Ps and technicians. So very large operation, doing more than 200 work packages per month.
Wow. You guys really keep busy. I'm gonna be honest with everybody. I'm a little bit distracted, and I'm going to try to get back into it because I'm just not seeing what I'm supposed to see on my screen, but I'll work with it. Well, let me do this. Let me go to Gregg first. And Gregg, tell us about your responsibilities, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, I'm our Director of Standards and Compliance. So I basically work with the FAA on the operations side of our charter department. I work underneath our Director of Operations, and in conjunction with our Director of Maintenance. He takes care of that side of the charter aspect. I take care of the ops side, which is more of the pilot aspect. We've got a pretty good sized fleet. We've got a mixed bag of charter versus managed and leaseback aircraft. We currently have 3 PC-12s on our charter certificate. We're going to bring back 1 more in about 2 months. It's been out for major avionics install and going to the paint shop, so we're going to have 4. We then manage another 4 PC-12s for owners of the aircraft, as well as a XL, CJ3, and a Challenger 604. So from my end, with the charter side, I've got to make sure we have all the compliance with the FAA manuals, documents, the checking, the training, the flight hours, duty time of all the pilots, make sure we don't exceed any of those and stay within our parameters. And any changes going on with the FAA, which happens every week. There's some new regulation that came out, got to make a change. So kind of oversee all of that, as well as just help with the normal operations throughout the day. If something pops up for a trip, go out there if I need to and help pre-flight the aircraft. So the whole spectrum, and work with the girls in the dispatch office to make sure we're crewing the charter planes correctly, legally, and also in terms of hitting maintenance events. Director of Maintenance will put a plane down for maintenance a couple weeks out, months out, make sure we hit that event with time left on the aircraft, or we don't run it out too early, so we maximize the usage of the aircraft as well. And the PC-12s, they're flying a lot right now. We're doing close to sometimes 500 hours a year on each of those aircraft for charter. So things are really picking up a lot. In terms of charter, COVID no longer exists from our point of view. It seems like everyone wants to start flying again. So we are very, very busy right now.
Not to put you on the spot, but put you on the spot. Gregg, how is it that Epps chose the Pilatus to be the aircraft that you guys wanted to sell and charter?
Well, when the PC-12 came out, we had at that time had a fleet of King Air 200s, and we had basically, I think, 3 200s and a couple Lear 35s as well. And Mr. Epps and Marion saw an opportunity for this new aircraft that would be very good competition for the King Air. It's the same cabin size, same speed, same altitude, but at a much less operating cost. And they thought there's an opportunity there, and they took it, and they were right. I still recall Mr. Epps coming into the office at that time and said, we're going to put this new airplane. It's basically a King Air with 1 engine. We're like, no one's going to want to fly that. Why are you doing this? Don't make me do all this work with the FAA to put this new airplane that no one's going to want to fly on our certificate. But his name's on the building, so we did everything he asked. And once it was on and people knew we had it, it was amazing to see people who said they would never fly a single engine turbine powered airplane, when they would call for a charter, and we told them, you know, our King Airs are either out flying or they're in maintenance, but we do have this new airplane. It's a Pilatus, one engine. They're like, no, no. Then they would call back, well, yeah, I think we'll try it because I have to make this trip tomorrow. So they would do the charter with us, fly the Pilatus, and then the next day they're like, change all my King Air trips to the PC-12. So it was a big switch, and it's been going great ever since. So it's been a great aircraft on our fleet, and just here at the FBO, they're everywhere.
Yeah, and a King Air is a great aircraft too. So I mean, it's proven itself time and time again. So that's an interesting thing about transitioning. I'm sorry?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the King Air, it is a great airplane. They're still out there. But for us, we just shipped it all to the PC-12 and never looked back on us.
Sure, absolutely. How about from the maintenance perspective, Dan? What was it like for you to make that transition?
The transition to maintaining a PC-12 was a very good transition. The aircraft is designed from a maintenance point of view from the white paper, actually, when they designed the airplane. Very maintenance friendly, very reliable. The Pratt & Whitney engine, well proven, also reliable, easy to maintain. And maintenance wise, couldn't be happier. The Pilatus service
Can you guys hear Dan? Because I lost his audio.
I can hear you now.
Okay, there you go. And I hear you now again. So hopefully everybody else was able to hear what you were saying. I'll see some chats on it if it wasn't the case.
Okay.
Dan, while I have you, you have a storied history with Epps Aviation. You go way back with the company. Tell us how you even got into aviation and how you ended up at Epps.
I was one of the kids. I followed my dad very closely and worked on small engines, lawnmowers before the age of 10. Went into mini bikes, motorcycles, started working on cars at 13 years old. Graduated college at 27 and came and applied at Epps in 1991. And it took several months and a couple of tries, but got my opportunity, got in the door, started here in 1992.
Yeah. Unless you got water.
Are you able to hear me, Vince?
You're in and out. Sorry about this with the technical part of it. Yeah, I heard part of it, and you're in and out. And I think our audio is steady on YouTube and Facebook, but it's on a delay, so I really can't use it because I'll be saying something and waiting 7 to 12 seconds for a response. Did you finish what you were saying about your background?
Yes, I did. Essentially started here at Epps in 92 and have been here for many, many years.
Yeah. And also, Gregg, you also have quite a history with Epps. You want to tell us how you started here and how you got into aviation and have been here for so many years?
Yeah, sure. I went to Georgia Tech. I was an AE over there. Left Georgia Tech or finished, graduated in 92. And then Epps owned the flight school at that time. And so I came over and started flight training. Did that and kind of worked on the ramp some as well when I was working for my private all the way up to my ATP over there. And then got my instructor certificate over at the flight school and was hired there to teach in '94. So taught there for about 4 years, built up a lot of dual, instruction given as an instructor. And at that time, what the charter department would do is the director of ops would go talk to the chief flight instructor over at the flight school whenever they needed a new charter pilot looking for new SICs. And if they had instructors that they thought would be a good fit for charter, they would move them over. And so I was lucky enough to get an interview over here and then got hired and basically walked across the hangar to the charter department, started there in '98. Started flying BE-58s and then King Air 200s. And then moved up to King Air Check Airman instructor as well. And then got typed on the Lear 35, Lear 31 as well. Became a check airman on those aircraft also. Then became the chief pilot for the charter department. Also got typed in the Lear 60 and a Citation 3. So flew quite a few aircraft. And then about 9 years ago, had a job shift over to my current position. So lucky enough to have all that flight experience to bring into my current job so I can kind of help oversee most of the aspects of the charter world as well as the managed aircraft as well. So lucky enough to be here for quite a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Shane, you come from a different background. You actually don't come from an aviation background, but you've come into Eps and taken over a big responsibility here. How about you tell us how that transition came about?
Sure. I haven't been here quite as long. 2004, almost 17 years I've been with Eps, but my background wasn't aviation. I never actually considered a career in aviation. I was mostly customer service out of college, Bell South, and then Verizon, Starbucks, Barnes and Noble. And I was actually running a local Barnes and Noble manager. And one of my part-time employees also worked here at Eps. He knew I was disgruntled with retail, looking for a change, said, hey, with your customer service background, I could use you at our front desk at Epps Aviation. So I decided to make a career change and just started on here 17 years ago, working at the front desk. And quickly just started learning all the ins and outs of aviation. Like I said, I was completely new to aviation at that point. I didn't know my phonetic alphabet. I didn't know a King Air from a Pilatus, completely new. So it was a steep learning curve. But then at that point, after I'd done the front desk for about a year and a half, they were looking for somebody to take over the quality control aspect of the fuel of the company. We had someone retiring. I raised my hand and said, I'd be more than happy to do it if you trained me. And they said, sure. And so I learned that aspect. And then I took over the training aspect for the line and then became the front desk supervisor after that. And then when the current Fbo manager, when she left the company, I stepped into that role. Mr. Epps tapped me to step into that role. So it just been, for me, the last 17 years have been constantly learning something new with aviation. And even now, after 17 years, I'm still daily learning new aspects of the business. But all my aviation history has been here at Epps Aviation.
Yeah, as I mentioned at the top of the show, the Epps Aviation is unique in that it's one of the independents that didn't get gobbled up by one of the big chains, and again has that great history. I wanted to ask each of you what it has been like to actually work for an iconic aviator. I mean, Pat Epps is legendary in the aviation industry with all of the things that he accomplished and the air shows he was in and things he did in his Beechcraft Bonanza, as well as the starting this FBO 56 years ago. I'll put that out to any of you.
I can start with that.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Dan, go ahead.
And then he froze.
Did he freeze? why don't you guys chime in while we figure out what's going on with this audio?
All right, I'll go while Dan's frozen. If he unfreezes, I'll stop talking immediately.
Okay.
For me, what I thought was interesting back at the time when I was flying, going all over the U.S., I was just amazed at the number of people. You land at an airport and they see Epps on your shirt or on your business card, and everyone's like, "Oh, I know Pat. I'm a friend of Pat's." Everybody at every airport is a friend of Pat's. We call them an FOP. But then even when I was just here in town, at the grocery store, who knows what, and I happened to wear my Epps shirt on the way home or something, there'd be just some stranger, not even at an airport, who's heard of Epps Aviation. So, early on in my flying career, I didn't know how big of an icon Mr. Epps was in the aviation world, and just being able to witness that firsthand, talking to all these people all over the country, flying here and there, and just here in town. It was great, and that just made me more proud to be working for him.
Yeah. Shane, as a non-aviator, that had to be kind of an interesting thing for you to learn of how historic and, again, legendary Pat Epps is, and what aviation truly represents.
Yeah, that was all part of the learning curve. When I came in, I didn't know anything about the history. And so that was very interesting right off the bat. And then I immersed myself in it a lot because I started doing tours for school kids that would come through here learning about history and stuff like that. So I got a chance to learn all about that history. And interesting to play off a little bit of what Greg said, talking about how everybody in the industry knows the Epps name. And, being here on the front desk line side of things, seeing people come through all the time. It's at least daily that a pilot will come through, a transient pilot will come through and be like, well, yeah, I started at my flight training at the Epps Flight School, or I was based here in the 70s, or flew chartered here out of the 80s, or, it seems like, if you do the 7 degrees of separation, it seems like, at least 80% of the pilots out there have some connection to Epps Aviation. It's, it just kind of runs through the entire industry, it seems like.
Yeah. So it's interesting. They had a big 50-year celebration. I'm sure you guys all remember that extravaganza that took place at the 50-year mark. And at the time, I was with NBAA, National Business Aviation Association, and was asked to come down and present the Order of the Silk Scarf to Pat Epps. And I came in early, and Pat and I have known each other off and on over the years, probably better when I was once I was at AOPA and NBAA. But he said, "Have you ever toured this place?" And I said, "No, actually, I haven't." And he took me on about an hour and a half, almost 2-hour tour of the entire facilities with Pat Epps narrative. So you guys all know what that means, right?
Yes, sir.
I got the details about every aspect of his business from the ground up, and everything that the business does. And I found it particularly fascinating to hear that, straight from him. But it was one of those things where you fly in and out of an FBO, and you know the name, and you kind of know the history, but you don't really get a good grasp on it until someone like the guy that created the place takes you on a tour, and you go, okay, this is way beyond. No wonder we should give him 2 silk scarves. So I just found that to be pretty amazing. Do we have Dan back?
I am here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Dan,
Excellent.
you've been here since, I think, 1992. I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts about working for Pat.
Yeah, absolutely. You had mentioned the word legend, and there's without question, Pat Epps is a legend. The area that Shane and Gregg work in is a literal museum. And if you got a tour from Pat Epps through that museum, you should be very thankful for that. I've gotten them several times. I've been fortunate to just tag along when he was explaining things to other folks. But having worked here for this long and having worked for Pat Epps, I feel very blessed to be able to have been a part of this, and very happy that I have made contributions to the company, to the service center, that have gotten us to where we are today.
Vince, hey, if
Yeah.
I could chime in for a second.
Please do.
You had mentioned the Mr. Epps tour. When I was working at the flight school, one of the first things that Clint Rogers, who was the chief flight instructor back in the day, would train the new instructors on is you would have a potential new customer coming in asking about flight training, because there's quite a few flight schools on the field, and they come in and they're looking at them all. We were specifically trained on taking a potential new customer on the big tour of all of Epps, not just the flight school across the hangar, but walk them into the 3 main hangars here, walk them over to the FBO itself, seeing all the fuel trucks, all the transits coming in and out, take them over to the 2 big maintenance hangars, so they could see how large of an operation this is, all under the Epps umbrella. And 9 times out of 10, if we had a potential new flight student coming in, not sure which school they really wanted to go, after they had that big Epps tour, they became a student here at Epps Aviation, after they saw the history and everything that we could do and how complex of an operation we are. So that was a big part of it.
So it made a really big impression.
Yeah, very big impression.
Yeah. Speaking of making big impressions, one of the other things that I wanted to accomplish with talking with you guys today is to give our viewers a better idea, the aspiring young aviation professionals, give them a better idea of what all is entailed in FBO career opportunities. So can we kind of go through in a little bit more specific, with a little more specifics, what each of your departments do, and you know, some of the areas like you guys have on the maintenance side, you do all aspects of maintenance. Dan, you can expand on that. The services that you guys provide, the charter, etc. Just want to kind of give them a piece of what we actually, what you guys actually do. Listen to me, whoever wants to chime in first.
I'll go ahead. I think, you know, a lot of people, when they think of aviation careers, they think of pilot and mechanic. I think is the 2 normal things. I think before I started in aviation, that's what I thought of, is you're either a pilot or you worked on the aircraft. That's pretty much what the aviation jobs were. But, I'm a testament to that. And really the FBO department, testament to that is, you know, we have the front desk staff, you know, which is more of a customer service related position, the line service, towing, fueling, taking care of the airplanes. You have, you know, from a marketing perspective, I mean, there's, you know, training perspective, our safety coordinator and trainer. There's a lot of different aspects that just more than just flying the aircraft and working on the aircraft when you're talking about aviation. And all those are just as important, especially making an FBO run on a day-to-day basis. So you can come into aviation from a lot of different backgrounds, like myself, who had a customer service background, but then apply those skills to aviation. And I think, I never thought about that when I was a kid getting into aviation. And an extension of that, I think one of the things I've tried to do with tours and stuff with young kids that come through is stress to them that, not just the careers that are involved, but how you can get involved in aviation at such a young age. And it was never taught in my school. I know, there was no real aviation tracked or anything like that. So I think getting young kids involved in aviation at an early age, elementary school, middle school, high school, into college is important.
Sure. Yeah. So, Gregg, you also, I'm sure, have some perspective on that with all of the things that you've done throughout your career here, in particular at Epps.
Yeah, I'll talk about the pilot aspect of it. You know, people wanting to be a pilot for their career. We've got all different types, all different ages here. We've seen the young guys 300 hours starting here. We've got the ex-airline pilots who still wanted to keep flying, but they couldn't keep flying in the world due to age. Brought them over as well to fly. So we have a mixed bag of the young people and the older people. And then on that same aspect, we've got the young guys that just want to build time through us and move to the airlines, which that's understandable. We are a good place to build time. And if we've got the right pilot, we understand that we're just a stepping stone for the next point in aviation. We're glad to help them learn as much as they can here to move on further their career. And then on the other end of that, we've got the guys who want to fly a couple more years, 3, 4, 5 more years, and then they're going to be done with their flying career. So, like I said, we've got all ends of it, from the new guys starting out to the older guys trying to end their career. So,
yeah, so there's a transition there going on with more people coming into that. And speaking of that, so Dan, last week I was at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University with their aviation maintenance science department, and we were talking about all of the opportunities coming out of aviation maintenance, and the timing is really good. And I can speak from that from a couple of standpoints. If you go to Epps website, see you guys are advertising for maintenance technicians. You need some A&Ps, and the same thing goes for Embry-Riddle. As fast as the kids are graduating from there, they're getting snatched up pretty quickly into opportunities. So, and as a matter of fact, I don't have the stats right in front of me, but there's going to be a need for, I think, 6,000 or 7,000 maintenance techs annually for the next 20 years. So it's wide open in terms of that opportunity. Dan, what's your perspective on that, being in the trenches with it?
Well, we are having a difficult time trying to hire folks and get more A&Ps in the door. There is a number of ones that are fresh out of school, and we do bring those people on just the same, but having a few years experience goes a really long way. And a lot of these guys they're really hard to find right now. I think pilot shortage and mechanic shortage are two things that the FAA has been trying to deal with for years now, and it's not really getting any better. For those of us that are already A&Ps or already pilots, and we're becoming a very highly sought after commodity. So getting into aviation and being a mechanic, there's a lot of different avenues you can go. You can be an A&P, you can go into avionics. There's non-destructive testing as well. That a lot of that is happening on airplanes, and we get a lot of NDT folks that are ex-military, typically Air Force, that come in, and those are the people that we have doing NDT.
Can you explain a little bit more about non-destructive testing?
Yeah, absolutely. Aircraft have to be inspected, and they go through regular inspection cycles, but there's also special inspections and airworthiness directives and things that require eddy current inspection, liquid penetrant inspection, magnetic particle, and ultrasonic. Those are the 4 big ones. There's also radiographic or X-ray, but that's not so prominent. But these are required inspections in order for the aircraft to stay safe, where you can see damage without actually disassembling the airplane by use of very expensive machinery and highly trained technicians.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about, Dan, tell us more about your different maintenance hangars that you have here. You mentioned them early on, but could you kind of explain what all the services are that you guys provide in maintenance?
Sure, absolutely. Gregg had alluded to the 2 big maintenance hangars, and we do have 2 large maintenance hangars. One of them is dedicated solely to Pilatus maintenance. That's all we do in that hangar. We have another one that is turbine maintenance and shared with the avionics repair shop. Has a lot of side shops off where the NDT shop is. Our calibration department is in there, as well as the parts department for stores and parts. We have 2 other hangars now that are, one of them is avionics installation. And the other hangar is dedicated to Cirrus aircraft and piston engine maintenance.
Gotcha. And I was thinking of something else while I was listening to you say that. But let me shift to Gregg for a minute. Gregg, on the charter side of the business and sales side, in terms of the PC-12, you mentioned some of the things that make the PC-12 such a great airplane. What are some of the things that a person that you would bring into that department you would want them to be able to do and to know?
With regard to the PC-12, I mean, as a customer or as a pilot?
No, as a sales rep. I guess what I'm trying to say is, for say somebody is in school and they were maybe on track to be a professional pilot, and now they're thinking, well, maybe I can go a different route and do something a little different, but still be heavily involved in aviation. I'm actually asking for your recommendation about that.
So you're saying not go the pilot route with the PC-12?
Well, as a pilot, as a sales rep, as you know, just in terms of some of the things that you've been doing in that area.
Yeah, you know, here with charter, we've got basically a couple of non-pilot positions. Dispatch, we have 3 ladies working in there, so that's a field that they can do as well, and that kind of feeds into the 121 dispatchers, but ours isn't quite that aspect. But dispatching is an option for people who want to be in aviation, don't want to have a flying career, and it's a very important part of our department. It's the first point of contact that the customer will have with us. You know, without those girls staffing the phones and having a good client relationship and knowledge of the aircraft, we then can't book the plane, and so there's no point in having the pilot. So that's the key part of our operation. So that is an area if a person has an interest. Maintenance, you know, we do have a director of maintenance. It is a required 119 position, so that's another non-flying position people could take, and Dan knows a lot about that. And then that's really it for us. The rest is just pilots, so we don't have a whole lot.
Yeah. So do your sales? I'm sorry. Do your salespeople also work as demo pilots to demonstrate the aircraft to potential customers?
Yeah, so they do both, and they will also use our pilots as well to help them with a new aircraft sale, and that lets them be in the back of the aircraft talking with the client when our pilot is up doing the flying part of it as well. But one thing that's really great, and I've happened a lot, we'll have a long-term charter customer who now, you know, they realize they're flying quite a bit, and they scratch their head and, you know, I'm flying 300 hours a year potentially. Do I need to buy my own aircraft? And what's great is we're a one-stop shop. You know, we've got the PC-12 they've been flying. We can walk them right down the hall, reach out to the Pilatus sales people there, get them in an aircraft potentially, and then they'll have options with us to either manage the aircraft just for them under Part 91 rules, or they could do a lease back with us as well, to where we fly them around as the owner, but then they also let us use the aircraft for charter operations, and we have a mix of that as well. And we've seen quite a few customers come through starting as charter clients, turn into aircraft owners and have the airplane based here, and we manage it and take care of everything.
Yeah. Dan, when you bring in a new maintenance, let's say somebody's a recent graduate from a aviation maintenance program at a college, 2-year, 4-year, whatever. Maybe they've already taken their test and gotten their A&P certification from the FAA. When you bring them in and they come to you as a newbie, how do you assign them? How do you look at them?
Well, it's not so much that person in particular. I mean, we will interview, and there's a lot of folks that even though you hold a certification, you still have to have mechanical ability. So we look for that. And once we hire somebody who is very low experience, we will pair that person with a crew that has higher experience. We can't put a whole crew together of people all low experience. So that's our approach to it. So it limits the number of low experience mechanics that we can have at any one time.
Shane, you guys have you're known when I say you guys, Epps. One of the things Epps Aviation is known for is its superior customer service and great personnel with great attitude. You see it as you walk around, or if you come in off the ramp. So when you're bringing somebody new into the group, it's really a family for sure. What are some of the things that you look for and need? Shane, can you hear us? I can't tell if we're not hearing you at all. Let me do a check here. Okay. Who can hear me?
I can hear you, Vince.
Okay. Greg, you can still hear me?
Yes.
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Shane.
Okay.
Got you.
All right.
Did you hear my question?
Yes, I believe I did. So when we bring a new line guy on, I think, you're great to get experience. If they can tow aircraft, if they already know how to fuel, that's great. But really, for us, we can teach that aspect. What you're looking for somebody with those sort of customer service skills, those that can interact well with customers, that can present themselves well, because we can teach the technical aspects of things. And I think that's one of the reasons we have such a good reputation in the industry. And we do so well in customer service surveys and things, ProPilot and those kinds of things, is because we have a huge amount of experience. I don't think you go to many FBOs where you'll find over half the line guys that have been in their position at their company for 10 plus years. And we have that. We've got several line guys that have 20 plus years experience. And so we pride ourselves on having a huge amount of experience, guys that know our customers backwards and forwards. They get off the airplane, you're asking them how their daughter's doing in college, how their dog is, they know the names of their kids, things like that. And that sort of first name basis with customers that have been coming out of here for 10, 15, 20 years. And I think that's what we're trying to present to them. And also for Mr. Epps, was always from day one has always been very adamant, and you treat the guy that gets out of the 172 like you treat the guy that gets out of the Gulfstream. We don't differentiate, which some FBOs tend to not care as much about the piston customers or the smaller aircraft customers, but that is our bread and butter, and we treat them the same. And I think they respond to that well. The customers truly respond to that well.
Piston customer maybe. I'm sorry,
yeah.
I was just going to say, that piston customer may one day be coming in the Gulfstream.
It happens all the time. You get the pilot, he's just flying on his 172 with his family up to go to a concert or something, and the next time he's going to fly in on the G650 that he manages. And so you don't discriminate at all from that. You treat them all with the highest level of customer service, and that's how we get repeat customers. Very, very rarely does a customer come here for the first time and not come back. And so we've got customers that have been coming in and out of here for 30, 40, 50 years. And they've been doing that, not because of fuel price or pricing or any of that. They do that because of that family atmosphere of service that you get here that I don't think is very common nowadays at FBOs.
So one of the common questions that I always like to ask everybody when I do these shows and get different perspectives from gentlemen like you who've been in the industry a long time is, what are some of your recommendations to these aspiring young aviation professionals that are, they're maybe in school or recent graduate or maybe even in high school, and they're trying to figure out what they want to do in aviation. May not necessarily be a professional pilot track, may not necessarily be maintenance, but they love aviation, they love what it's about, and they want to do something in it. They just want to find out what that is?
For me, it really easy, and I may be biased here from the department I'm in, but if you really want to see how an FBO works and how aviation works, work at a front desk of an FBO, work on the line of an FBO. You see everything, especially an FBO like us, where we do everything. You'll see every aspect of aviation from that perspective, and can really kind of see where you want to go, what you want to do.
Yeah. Dan or Greg?
Well, I am back. I'm sorry, this video cut out on me and I only heard part of your question.
Oh, I was just asking for your thoughts about what you would recommend to the next generation coming in that may be interested in a career in aviation, but is interested in a career in aviation, but not quite sure what they want to do, whether that's a high schooler, somebody that's currently in an aviation school or program, or recently graduated from one and is still trying to figure out things. Just giving your perspective, having been in the FBO business for a long time.
Well, I can most certainly say the number one thing is knowledge is power. You can graduate with the same A&P as the guy next to you, but if you studied more diligently and you went the extra mile to learn more about other aspects of things, and that I think is the number one thing that's going to set you apart from the other applicant sitting right next to you coming into an FBO or a maintenance facility.
Yeah. Greg, how about you?
Yeah, I would also point out, just like Dan said, you know, these young kids in school, you know, put in the effort, you know, get the best grades you can, learn as much as you can when you're in school. Because we've seen many people come here through, you know, for an interview, and we can tell right off the bat the young people who have put in the effort when they were in school and the ones who have not. And, you know, for us from a pilot point of view, it's critical that we hire young people who really take the time to put in the effort, to know that they're about to take on a major responsibility as a pilot, you know, with people's lives in their hands. And just if you get that in your mind right when you're in school, you know, that you're going to be taking on a huge role, huge responsibility as a pilot, even as an aircraft mechanic, you know, those are major. And also working the front desk too, you know, to keep the customers coming into the FBO. Find your passion that you have for what part of aviation. Go tour your local FBO, because I've had plenty of kids come in and they've been in school. Hey, I'm in school, I'm not sure what I want to do. Any advice on becoming a pilot, or what else is there? So go to your local FBO and ask around, and you'll find lots of people out there who would be willing to take 5-10 minutes, a half hour for these young kids, walk them around so they can see what all's out there, and, you know, put that spark, put that flame in them to keep that passion for aviation going.
Sure. Shane, when did you first take your first airplane ride? Where was that? And was that the point when you were like, aviation's going to be my career? I'm sorry, Greg.
Yeah.
Greg.
Yeah, my first ride was actually here at Epps. I mean, I knew I wanted to be a pilot after I was through with college. I took the big tour at Epps when I was looking for flight schools. It worked on me. You know, I'm here 28 years, so that's proof. But yeah, after that first intro flight here with my flight instructor, I'm like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And it didn't have to be flying. You know, it's turned out no more flying, but still there's so many different avenues and options as a career in aviation. But mine started with flying, and it's going to continue just in aviation as a whole. And yeah, that one flight was all it took. So.
And Dan, you mentioned that. Go ahead.
I was just going to say my first ever flight in a piston aircraft was Mr. Epps taking me up in a Bonanza doing barrel rolls over Stone Mountain. So that was my first ever flight in a piston aircraft after I'd started here. So he took me up in his
That's a
Bonanza.
serious indoctrination.
Loved it. Right off the bat, I thought that was the coolest thing ever.
I'm sure. I was sure. I was just going to ask Dan, because he went from tinkering to aviation maintenance. Dan, when did you make that transition?
Well, I had mentioned it was always very mechanical, and I didn't want to be an auto mechanic. Cars are inherently greasy and dirty from road grime. Airplanes are a whole lot cleaner, and it just seemed to be a little more prestigious way for me to spend it. And airplanes are just cool. I love airplanes. I'm one of, I'd say, a minority that just absolutely loves what they do. My wife is very envious. And I too got barrel rolls in a twin engine Navajo with Pat Epps. So very grateful for all of that.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, guys, I am so sorry that we had such technical challenges on the Wi-Fi, but it was really great to have an opportunity to talk with you guys about what you do, about Epps Aviation. I should put out a congratulations to Elaine Epps, who is now the president of Epps Aviation after heading up marketing for a number of years and growing up in the family here at the FBO. So congratulations to you, Elaine, and Pat Epps. You're one of our heroes in terms of the legendary aviator that you have been and are, and so it's a pleasure and it's an honor and a privilege to be here at Epps Aviation and to be able to talk with your guys about what Epps Aviation offers and does and how it inspires the next generation. But we have run out of time, so I want to thank you guys again for taking the time and the opportunity, and we had to stumble through a little bit of Wi-Fi issues, but we made it through, and it's been a pleasure. So my name's Vince Mickens with All Things Aviation and Aerospace. Again, live on location doing a live stream, and that's live TV for you from Epps Aviation at Dekalb-Peachtree Airport in Atlanta, Georgia. Everybody take care. Catch you next time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.